Very much alive. 2-2 on the night at the Bernabeu. Real Madrid win 4-3 on aggregate. And of course, if that wasn't enough, more drama coming away tomorrow with Liverpool taking that 5-2 lead to Italy to face Roma. Stand by. Analysis with Stephen and KJ is on the way next in Sports Center.
From Bayern, just coming up short as we say hello and welcome to Sports Center. I'm Kara Wagland. Ahead on the show, we're going to get you set for a big game one between the Raptors and the Cavaliers tonight on TSN, and the Predators and Jets series shifts to Winnipeg for Game 3. But first, let's wrap up the day in Champions League, get you back to Luke and the guys.
Joined once again by Stephen Caldwell and Christian Jack. Real Madrid managed to get a 2-1 win in Munich last week in the first leg of their Champions League semi-final. So it was back home to the Spanish capital at the Bernabeu for the second game between these two teams. Let's take you to the highlights on aggregate. And at that point, Bayern Munich were throwing everything forward. In the end, just wasn't enough. We talked before the game about Bayern Munich, KJ, needing to get back to a final. A club that has won 6 Bundesliga titles in a row now. Domestically, they managed to get past everything in front of them, but they've fallen at this hurdle 4 times now in a row.
And this one will hurt the most, I think, because they'll feel like they've done everything they possibly could. Ultimately, their demise is down to the 2 major mistakes: the Rafinha back pass, which was bad across from his goal in the first leg, and the second one. And let's take a look at that big error. The second half, Ulrich, and 25 seconds into the game, and Tolisso.
Positive when he comes to that, KJ. I think a big goalkeeper running at you, most centre forwards are going to put the brakes on, stand back a bit, he can clear it up the field. Once he delays a little bit and then he gets anxious, he gets caught in 2 minds. That's his biggest problem. He thinks he can go with his feet and then he goes with his hands and he doesn't know what he's doing. The ball just squirms right underneath him. It's absolutely calamitous. Shocking back pass. Should have just flipped the ball forward in the first place, but really could have been prevented and would have been prevented if Neuer or a top-class keeper was in goals.
That's the thing. We talked all pre-game about the players who weren't playing for them. We haven't talked about Neuer because he's not played all season. In fact, Thomas Muller said recently that Ulrich was our player of the year. I mean, that's ridiculous. He's a goalkeeper for Bayern Munich who scored over 150 goals this season. But the point being is that he's done a good job. He's done a decent job. But Manuel Neuer, an athlete in the goals, is further out. He recognises the press. He recognises that he's an outfield player more than a goalkeeper a lot of the time. He's more available there, I believe, for that back pass than Ulrich was. And in the end, it cost him.
James Rodriguez becomes the 7th player to score both for and against Real Madrid in a Champions League match. Of course, he's on loan right now with Bayern Munich, scores against his parent club. You could have
style that suits him. This is brilliant. It's not even that bad goalkeeping, in my opinion. It's just a brilliant finish by a player who's so alert.
I thought he was marvellous over the 2 legs, and I think for Colombian fans in the World Cup, they'll be delighted because he's back to the form that they needed to be, playing a little bit deeper. Credit Heinkes, he's worked him harder. James said that in the press conference yesterday. He said, I never cover as many miles as I've done before. He's relishing that role, but he got taken off. And it's strange. Is there a clause in a contract somewhere that says you can go on loan, but if we're playing in the Champions League, you're going to come off in the last 10 minutes? Because I know that why they put Javi Martinez on, because they put him on for his aerial threat.
Physical
and he did
presence.
well. But, I mean, for me, I would have had Muller off before him if you want to take somebody off. He was brilliant. He was delivering the balls in. He was running into the box. It was a mystifying substitution unless he's injured. I think that's one of the question marks you can ask of Heinkes after the game.
Real Madrid were having problems in the last round against Juve at home when they conceded those goals, needed the Ronaldo penalty late on. And again today, last 20 minutes or so, you would have put your money on, if anyone was going to score, it would have been Bayern.
Well, it was back to the wall stuff again for Real Madrid, and they continued to do that. You go through their run all the way.
Passing towards Lewandowski. It's not on at that point. Just get out your feet, smash it towards a goal on the back post, have people flooding in, and that was indicative. You know, to have that amount of chances at this level of European football over 2 legs and go out and to concede the sloppy goals, that they won't be able to believe it. These guys will look back on these 2 games, they'll watch them back, they won't believe that they didn't go through from this tie because they were the better side over 180 plus minutes.
You bang on, the entire club, the fan base, Rummenigge, everybody will think about this game for a year until they're in the Champions League semi-final again next year, where you would bet on them to be in there, because this is the tournament that defines them. And 5 years in a row they haven't made the final, which is a complete and utter failure for a team like Bayern Munich. It just is. It's harsh. The way they played, you could argue they should have got through, but they made big mistakes on 2 big goals, and the other team were clearly more ruthless when it came to the goal-scoring chances. And that's what it's about. It's taking your moments when you can.
How much of Bayern Munich not taking their chances and not being able to convert, having had that possession and decent looks on goal, was about Real Madrid and the job they did defensively?
Yeah, the 2 centre-halves were immense. Ramos and Varane just headed. Everybody was involved in it, KJ, but special credit has to go to 2 centre-halves for me. Terrific.
Yeah, I mean, Sergio Ramos will go down as one one of the greatest defenders in modern-day football history. And I think, you know, just because, not only because of the trophies, but the leader that he is. But you hit the nail on the head for me. The guy next to him, they think about the youthfulness of him playing in Champions League when he was 18. He missed the Euros because of injury with France. Think about what a different team France can be this year in the Summer's World Cup with having a player like that, bringing that leadership and a winning mentality to that French group that is so lacking that right now. What a kind of player that Varane can be for France. And again, he's grown up so much and matured into that level. It's brilliant to watch the partnership. He'll know that more than I'll ever know, the value of that partnership. But they were everywhere together. They never got too far apart. And I thought in the end, Lewandowski just looked at it and thought, I can't beat these two guys. And they got in his head in the end. A brilliant defensive display by the two of the best in the world.
Behind that, you mentioned Navas. Sometimes there have been questions about Real Madrid and goalkeeping and looking for somebody else.
De Gea, Courtois.
Is Navas the guy now?
Well, it's difficult to turn him down after a performance like that. I thought he was very, very good. People questioned him in the first leg with the Kimmich goal, whether he should have gone the other way. And I understand that. I don't think the rumours will ever go away with Courtois and De Gea because it's Real Madrid. But as the rumours continue to swirl, the guy in charge is doing a decent enough job. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and he just gets on with his job. He doesn't worry too much about what people are saying. Just does his business. And he's always been like that in his Real Madrid career. I feel like from the first minute he went there, somebody was coming along to replace him. Gets on with his stuff. Great professional. And he showed his qualities today as a goalkeeper. I do think he's still pretty vulnerable, in my opinion. He's not one of the elite goalkeepers in world football, but he does the business and he has the trust of the defenders, you can see, and you know, somehow they keep the ball out between them.
And Zidane still hasn't been knocked out as a manager in the Champions League as he gets to the final once again. Real Madrid, the first club in history to make it to 3 straight European Cup finals twice. And that just puts it into context. We talk about this being...
I would say that, but I have a tendency to agree with him. When you evaluate true greatness over 9 months, I understand why they have a league title and the league obviously for that, and they've only won 1 out of the last 5. That's not as good enough as that they want, but there's something very unique and special about watching high-level athletes at the very, very biggest stage step up for me, and that's what I think about this Real Madrid team. Yeah,
and I don't care what anybody says, the Champions League trophy is the ultimate, the pinnacle in club football. You know, you want to win your league, yes, like you said, the longevity of that campaign, KJ, but there's nothing like the Champions League. And this team prove year in, year out that they feel like this is their trophy. You can just see the belief they have in each other, in the team, in the club. It's their trophy. They not only should be there, they should be entertaining, they should be challenging for that trophy every single year. And we saw that yet again today when they're under adversity and it looks like they might they find a way, they find an answer. One of their big guys steps up at the most important times. And who would bet against them in the final? We see them save their best performances for the final normally, so it's going to be very, very tough to beat them May 26th.
And you also evaluate them in the teams they've beaten. During this whole run, Atletico Madrid pushed them so close a couple of times. I think they've been a brilliant team of this era. We just talked about Bayern Munich and they've not been able to get over the line. Juventus, they've beaten them. Bayern Munich, they frustrate them so often. So it's a team that rightfully belongs as being what will be known as one of the greatest teams of all time, even before winning this. It's a tremendous achievement.
When you look back over the course of history, and Real Madrid are there, of course, we talk about the European Cups they've won. Another team that has such a rich European history and has the European Cups to show it is Liverpool. And now it could be their year. We could be set up for, and sorry Roma fans, a Real Madrid-Liverpool final here, which would be pretty nice in Kiev. Liverpool have that advantage going into the second leg, 5-2 against Roma. Roma will point to the fact they've done it before against Barcelona. Is it Liverpool's year?
For me, Toni Kroos and Luka Modric are the best midfielders in the world, and Liverpool's midfield is nowhere near as good as that. We know that anyway, and they've got through other teams, but it's the front three. It's the front three that will win them the European Cup if they go on and win the European Cup, Liverpool. And I just think Real Madrid, if they can dominate that midfield, we've just talked about how good their centre-backs are, I think for me they would start as favourites, also knowing they know how to win. This Liverpool team still have got to get over that hump yet. They need the opportunity to do that, and they've been magnificent and scored 44 goals in the Champions League, so it's going to be a mouth-watering final.
We mentioned that Roma comeback against Barcelona in the last round. They managed to do so, keeping Barcelona off the board, a team that's stacked with the talent that they've got. So Roma have done it before, but do you see them being able to do that?
I think the overall talent in the Champions League this year, and I've been always want to say that it's the elite of the elite, it's the best soccer player in the world, best football player in the world. I think the talent is down. I think it's diluted this year. We saw it again today, a wide open game of football, wonderful for the neutral, but really, really strange for me, a strange game of football. And we've had early goals in a lot of these big games. Roma score early tomorrow, and and then suddenly the game can change again. So it'll come down to this for me. If Roma get an early goal, I still think Liverpool are going to get through, but how that platform and that format of that game goes will come from the first 15 minutes of the match.
Yeah, I'll say one thing, KJ. I think defending talent's down for sure. I don't think there's a team in this competition who sit back, absorb pressure, much like, you know, previous winners of the tournament, maybe back in the 90s and the early 2000s, where, you know, you had a team who could soak up that pressure, hitting the break, be a little bit different. Most teams are expected to play that swashbuckling football now, and it's a detriment to the defending. We talked about defending from Real Madrid today, but it was last gas stuff, it was headers, it was good position. It wasn't really a good team defensive display, and that's been lacking in this tournament. And the 4 teams that we've assessed we're going to assess tomorrow and today, are all very vulnerable defensively. Even Bayern Munich, as good as they are in possession, that vulnerable defensively, gave away 4 shocking goals. So for me, I agree with you on that one, but the attacking football's been brilliant. We're going to see another great attacking game tomorrow.
And to be fair, defending's been down since you retired in July of 2015. So
well, I would have had everybody deeper and just people in front. Boring. That's not what happens these days.
Should be a good game tomorrow. Join us as Roma